So one of the things that we do in this class is that we have a system set up. So the class video and materials are sort of there if you want to review them, if you want to do anything. We will assign homework, but homework is, I encourage you to do it, but it's optional. I understand you guys are busy, and if you don't do the homework, we always kind of review the most important parts of in the next class anyway. So it's kind of up to you. You do it. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, for me.
All right. So, okay, I don't know you guys, so or that well. We've only talked one time, so we're going to do a little kind of warm up. So basically, the overview of today is we'll do a little bit of a warm up icebreaker, so I can know you guys. Talk about that's not correct. We're not going to talk about companies or the present continuous. We're going to talk about finance. Okay. So this is a really simple icebreaker. It's called Question the Answer. It's instead of having people just do an introduction, my name is blah, 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 we'll do it backwards. So the basic idea is think of one word that is an answer to a question about yourself, and then tell us that word, and your classmates and me will try to guess the question. So I'll do the first example. So the answer is Canada. What's the question?
Where are you from?
Where am I from? Exactly. Okay. All right, James, give us one.
Persistence.
Assistant?
Persistence.
Persistent.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Persistent.
Persistent.
So is that your personality?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically.
that's good. Just remember in the form of a question. So we would say, how would you describe your personality?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Kevin Chiu, I think that was you. So why don't you do the next one?
Kobe Bryant.
Brian. Oh, Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Is your idol Kobe Bryant?
Yep.
Right. But you see, the answer, that question, is your idol Kobe Bryant? The answer to that question is yes. But his answer is Kobe Bryant. Yeah.
What's your?
Who is your
idol?
Yeah, good. Kevin Wong, Mr. Wong.
Exhausted.
What's your current condition?
Yeah, precisely.
Sure. Let me give you one. Okay. 2008.
Global financial crisis.
Well, that would be a what would the question be?
What?
Let me guess.
When do you move to China?
When did I move to China? Good. That's not the right question, but I moved to China in 2003.
Oh, okay.
But good question.
When do you marry?
I was 2010.
That's close.
Getting close, yeah. Although my wife would have preferred 2008. But...
It's cheaper, or
Pardon me?
will the cost will be cheaper, or
She was in more of a hurry than I was.
all right.
Yeah, good. Well, 2008 is when I moved to Shanghai, but the global financial crisis also happened then, so that was a good one. So, James, give us the second one.
I'm not. Maybe let me think more about it.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Kevin Chiu, do you have one?
How about 1994?
1994.
When?
Is it your birth?
Yep, it's actually my
When is your
year of
birthday?
birth.
Yeah, when is your birthday?
It's September 19, 1994.
Good.
All right.
Oh,
I see. I see.
Mr. Wong, Kevin Wong.
boxing.
Sing.
The boxing.
Oh, boxing. Okay.
Boxing. So, what's your favorite sports?
Pretty
No?
close, but
I know the answer because you told me that. I remember.
Oh, what do you do when you're free time? In your free time?
Yeah, technically, yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
say, why should
So you
your
love.
colleagues be careful around you? Pretty close. All right, James, your turn.
哦，另外一个是 James，
没有 K 小 K 跟 Kevin 大 K
哦，小跟他。
那个yeah, so motorcycle, yeah.
Motorcycle. What do you drive to work?
Not quite,
Not quite.
yeah.
What do you like to do?
Yeah, I like to ride motorcycle around areas, and yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, good hobby. All right. All right, that was pretty good. So let's go one deeper on this one. So generally, if you were to introduce somebody in a professional context, maybe a customer visit, or I don't know, you guys don't have customers, but somebody, a business partner or a potential somebody you're going to cooperate with has visited your office, and you want to introduce one of your colleagues. What kind of things would you typically introduce? Would you say about them? You'd say their name, where they work, their job. What else might you talk about? What else might you say?
Their title?
The title, sure.
Their specialties.
Yeah, yeah. What they focus on at work and their specialties.
Their education background?
Right. Could be, yeah. Anything else?
Mm,
Working experience?
Yeah. How long they've worked there or how long they've been in the industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Any experience about previous company?
Sure. Yeah. Anything notable? Yeah. Oh, they used to work for this well-known company, certainly. All right. So I think let's just do this going around in a circle, with you guys, because I'd like you to sort of introduce each other to me. So let's see.
But I only met Kevin once, and I never met James.
Right. But they're right here, so you can find out all the information you need.
Okay, cool.
So you've been around the longest. All right. So we'll let you go last, Kevin. Show. We'll give you a second. So
Right. Thank you.
yeah, maybe and that means somebody's going to have to introduce you and ask all the questions as well. So maybe Kevin Wong, could you introduce James to me?
Okay. Oh, James, I've known him for like maybe 1-2 months, and he is our C++ developer. And I don't what could I say? Works hard, and we have some cooperation on the company's infrastructure, and also we work together to solve the problem from the supervisor. And besides, yeah, okay, that's all I know.
That's pretty good. I mean, if I let's say if I was a a third-party person, if I was outside the company and I knew you already, I had been working with you. That's a good introduction because it tells me what James does, but also how you and James interact together and work, and why you're introducing him to me in the first place. Yeah, so I thought that's pretty good.
Okay.
So James, you have a choice. You can introduce either Kevin Chiu or Kevin Wong.
Yeah, of course, Kevin is an easy answer. It's much more easy, but it's all right. I could introduce Smoke Haven. Yeah. So Smoke Haven is our trader in our company, and he works for our trading groups in Chunyi Exchange Center. And yeah, so we actually have some cooperation to ask him to help me test some of the features, some of the infrastructure features. And he actually are great at helping me. Yeah, so I'm really grateful about it.
Right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Kevin, did he call you Small Kevin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have two Kevins in our
Right.
company. So Kevin Wong is Big Kevin and I'm Small Kevin.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Small Kevin, it's your turn.
All right, so I guess I'm gonna introduce Kevin Wong, right?
Sure.
So Kevin Wong is our quant, but he also needs, sometimes he also helps on our trading. So that's why he always exhausted. And also I know Kevin is very expertise in cryptocurrencies. I hear from Steven. So so that's why maybe that's why he's always busy. He has some content job, he has some trading job, and he also have to look at the crypto markets.
Okay.
But anyway, he's a good guy.
All right. That was good. That was really good. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so next, this is just a quick overview on what we'll be focusing on in this course, what you guys will be sort of doing, and what I think you need. Because compared to the other groups, group 1 and group 2, you guys all have very good English language ability already. So the focus needs to be a little bit different than what they're doing. So one thing is that we want you guys to increase your ability to use complex language, right? So getting your ability to use English closer to how you speak in your native language, right? So I think that's a common thing that people, when they're learning a second language, they say that I can't express myself the same way. So we'll try to move it closer so you can say what you mean. Accuracy is, again, just about being more as correct as possible in the words that you choose to use and how you put them together. And appropriacy is sort of the big one for people at your level. So sometimes you can say something that's correct. It's not an error, not a grammatical error, but it's not the best choice of language for a particular situation or for a particular topic. And how do we do that? How do we make the right sort of social choices about language or situational choices? And then the last part is fluency. And fluency really comes down to both practice in terms of talking, using complex language, but also in some areas of pronunciation, which we'll talk about. So the general approach is we need to look at a lot of words, not just, sometimes there'll be new words, but I think more important where you guys are is the right kind of word combinations, because that's where English and probably most languages get difficult. Like sometimes we put certain nouns and verbs together and there's no reason, there's no rule for it. It's just the common way to do it. And so we have to work on that. And then, what are the right choices? Why do we say something one way and not another way? And how do you change language when you're talking to your boss or compared to talking to a colleague or talking to somebody on the street that you haven't met before? And then phonology. And phonology is really just a big word for pronunciation. Often when people hear pronunciation, they think of like the IPA, like the yinbiao, like those individual sounds. But we need to go a little bit deeper than that, because I think what makes really excellent pronunciation, particularly at your level, it sometimes doesn't matter if you make the sounds the right way, but all languages, and the English included. They have a certain rhythm. There's a way that we stress things and we put words together so it sounds fluid to a native speaker. It actually makes the language a lot easier to speak. So we're gonna focus on that as well over the course of this course. But today we're just going to kind of jump right in and start talking about finance, because I know you guys, you know this already. It's an area that you guys are really familiar with. So it gives us a chance to just hear a little bit about what you can do. So for this part, I'm going to give you the first part of the statement, and I'd like you to finish it in your own words. There's no wrong answers here. There's probably many ways to finish these statements, but I'd just like to hear how you do it or what your thoughts are. So the first one is kind of a general statement. So finance is the part of economics concerned with what? James, do you want to try this one? How would you finish this statement?
Sure. So I think that finance is the part of economics concerned with individuals, that how they spend their money in different ways. So yeah, that's my thought.
Sure, okay. Anything you guys want to add to that? Kevin Cho, Kevin Wong?
Finance is a part of economics concerned with stock market and bonds market.
Okay. Why do those markets exist? What do they do?
So they allow people to trade stocks and bonds in secondary markets.
Sure, okay. Yeah, I think that's all correct. And like I said, there's no wrong answers here. So the answer I had here is like finance, where we often separate finance from economics, is that finance is about how funds are provided to individuals, businesses, and governments. James, I think what you said is correct. I think you were talking a little bit more about personal finance, which is more focused on the individual. Of course, we can also include entities in that.
I see.
Yeah. So those entities, individuals, business, and governments. So finance allows entities to use what? Where would we go with this? Okay. Kevin Cho, do you have any thoughts on where this sentence might be going?
All right, then how about I try it?
Pardon me?
Yeah, how about let me try it. Maybe I
Sure.
can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So I think that finance allows these entities to use their ability to growth, or perhaps to spend on their development, or perhaps to let them have the freedom to do that for their creativity. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think I think that's the general idea. If finance is about providing funds, and what do people use those funds for? Well, in this case, I think your answer is totally correct. This is just a different answer. So in this case, it's using credit instead of cash. So like, yeah, which I think you understand. So individuals can borrow money. Companies don't. What can companies do besides borrow money that individuals can't?
Can get an IPO.
Yeah, and that's right. And why do we say that? Why do you do an IPO?
Because company needs money to run the business.
Yeah, that's right. So we say raise money.
Oh yeah, raise money.
Yeah, that's good. And governments, what about them?
They monitor the financial markets by
Sure.
using some interest rate policies.
Sure, that's
I think, yeah, I think the context here will be the government can tax for the money.
governments can tax money, yeah.
Yeah.
Governments raise money.
Maybe, yeah, get the money from the poor people. Yeah.
Right, so we're going to get political then, I guess. Yeah, that's true. Governments can also raise money by issuing bonds. Yeah, but taxing is certainly the main revenue. All right. So banking. What makes banking different? Banking is the business of. Kevin, how would you summarize banking?
Banking is the business of asset and the flow that they could utilize to provide liquidity.
Right.
Try to increase the needs from the customers and the companies, like the bridge between the individual and the company or the government.
Right. Okay. That's a much deeper answer than what I have. That's very good. I just have providing financial services, but your answer is much better. So banking, when we talk about banking institutions, that includes what kind of institutions?
Banks,
Yeah, banks, but what different kinds of banks?
commercial banking, investment banking.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if you have these in Taiwan, but there's also like specific kinds of almost like cooperative banks, like saving and loan associations and banking co-ops, but same idea as a
What's a savings bank?
it's typically like more of a retail focused bank. You know, like I think you really only talk, I think they talk about them mainly in the US context, where they have a lot of small banks that just service a small area. And it's dealing with people's savings. And the main difference between these types of banks lies in how would obviously the customers that they serve is one main difference. But what's another difference in these kinds of banks? Any thoughts? One is how they're owned, and second is how they manage their assets, their liabilities.
Oh,
Okay.
The way you structure a bank, well, I mean, you guys know this, of course, but the way you structure and register a bank, you have different laws or different regulations that regulate how much risk you can have, or how many loans you can have on the books, those kind of things.
I see.
So for you guys, would you describe yourselves as a spender, a saver, or an investor in your personal finance? Right.
Let's
even
start
one may have the answer.
Yeah, start with whichever one.
Right.
I could also be a saver.
Would you make a distinction between a saver and an investor?
I think the main difference is that the investor, you will try to use your money to kind of invest for your bigger future. You will expect some borrowing rate or some expected return
Right.
higher than just saving. And if you are a pure saver, you will just save all the money you got and just put it in the bank or whatever, that just process this asset till that's it. Yeah.
Okay. And you would call yourself a saver?
Yeah, because I don't invest all my money into no matter the stock market or the crypto market.
Sure.
I also save part of it. Yeah, so it's
Right.
more like part saver, part investor.
Okay, fair enough. James, so you're buying motorcycles. So are you a saver? Or
Perhaps I think that I will count myself as a saver before joining this company. I never have actually touched quite any markets or perhaps investing bonds before this company, before joining this company. And so, although I spend things that I like and I spend something that I need, but I think that I'm a saver and just learning to be an investor.
Right, okay. Probably the right job to learn, I suppose. Maybe. Right. And small Kevin, how about you? Where would you put yourself?
Oh, I think I'm all of the above because I have to spend money on my food, on my rent, and I also save little money in the banks. And
Right.
also I put most of my money in, I mean, stock markets. So all of the above.
Right, okay. Just out of curiosity, is real estate investment a big area in Taiwan?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically how the Asia works. Yeah,
Sure, if it was like
Yeah.
everywhere,
they put over 30 or 40% of the money into the real estate part.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think here you can't go anywhere. Like if you have dinner, you go to a party, eventually somebody's going to talk about how much this apartment costs or that apartment costs.
That's perhaps not the young the party that the young people join, but if you have a dinner with your perhaps your parents or your grandparents, that's definitely the issues that they want to discuss.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So just continuing on from this. So these are some comments that might be sort of typical from different kinds of savers and investors. And I'm wondering, we want to read through the comments and decide which one is sort of closest to you, which applies to you. So James, do you mind reading that comment for us?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll leave my money in a saving account. It's no interest, but safe.
Let's see. All right. Okay. And Kevin Chill, can you read that one if you can see it?
Transparency in how my money is invested is important to me.
Mr. Wong, Kevin Wong.
I'll never invest in anything I didn't fully understand.
Right. Okay. Just do crypto people say that? Because I don't.
Ironic.
I'll read this one. So I'd be happy to buy shares in a company I work for. It's essential that my money goes into ethical investments. And so for ethical investments, I don't know if that's a common concept you guys come across. What would you consider to be an ethical investment?
Like green investment?
Sure, green energy, yeah, renewables. And what would be unethical?
Bangling? Is that bangling? Gambling.
Gambling, okay. Certainly, yeah. Maybe tobacco. Like,
Oh yeah, tobacco.
Yeah, weapons, weapon manufacturing. And the last one, I'd go for a high rate of return regardless of the risks. So looking at these statements, which do you feel is closest to how you feel? Maybe more than one apply.
F?
F? Okay. But you really don't, you're very tolerant of risks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm young and I'm still have works. I still have a job, so I have a higher risk tolerance than, like retired people. So
Sure.
why not, why not invest and take more risk in when you are young?
Sure, okay, that's fair. Anyone else feel that these statements represent their outlook?
I think that I'll choose A. A will be much more closer to me because I have my own dreams that I need to save some money.
Sure.
And of course, I could use this money to learn some investment, but perhaps I won't take 100% or maybe 50% of it into the market. Yeah.
Sure, okay. And Big Kevin, how about you?
I think I'll go with F, same as the little Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to.
After the
You have to risk if you want to make money.
Yeah, of course.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough, I guess. So none of you are particularly worried about ethical investment or transparency.
That's
It's a fair question because I think it relates to the next part. Because so this is a short introduction of a company called Triodos Bank, which is a bank that was founded in the Netherlands not that long ago. So let's first of all try to use the words in the boxes to finish it, and then we'll talk about this bank a little bit. So I'll do the first example. So Triodos Bank invests in projects that have a positive blank and blank impact. So what words, when we talk about impact, the influence it has on something, what kind of impact are we often talking about?
Social and environmental.
Yeah, exactly. Positive social and environmental impact. So Kevin Chill, can you continue with the next sentence?
Okay, the bank's business model involves working with the blank.
Yeah. What do you think that is?
working with the.
Triple bottom line. I don't know.
It's grammatically that's correct, but it's not the right answer here. But you picked the right kind of word.
Involves working with the.
The bank's business working with expertise.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
You can't have in this case you can't have the expertise.
Oh,
It doesn't work, it's grammatical.
so that's need to be pros, perhaps business or individuals.
I'm gonna show you guys the answer in this case. Working with the
Oh.
real.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to come back to that idea later because I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So Kevin Wong, can you continue? Triodos depositors.
Triodos depositors are mostly rather than.
What do you think the answer is?
Mostly expertise rather than individuals,
Close.
or the opposite.
Close. Well, expertise
Mostly,
it describes how to explain expertise. Expertise is a word that it is a noun, but in this case it's not a noun that describes a person. It's a noun that describes the state of being an expert.
okay. Are mostly individuals rather than businesses.
Exactly. Yeah, mostly individuals rather than businesses. James, Triodos funds.
I think that will be more like because so trade funds that are
就是新一点的，因为那个他妈是很久。
and the banks has are individuals. Triodos funds projects are individuals.
No, we've used individuals already.
We got
yeah.
individuals.
That couldn't be the case. So
doing
So-
things.
Yeah, that's right. Doing things.
right.
And the bank has.
Expertise.
Finally,
So that's right. So expertise is a noun. It's something that you can have, but it means the condition of being an expert.
Okay.
So then the return on investment is a combination of three factors: financial, social, and environmental. So if it's three factors, that must be the
Triple bottom line.
triple bottom line. Yeah, exactly. Three things. So obviously this bank, in terms of the way they talk about their business, are making a kind of political statement. I think there's some interesting ideas here. So they describe themselves as doing sustainable banking. What do you think? What does that mean to you, sustainable banking?
A bank that doesn't make money.
Right, okay. A bank that doesn't make money. Right. Why don't they make money?
No, I'm just speaking ironically, but
I know what
Yeah.
you mean.
yeah, so if you're sustainably, you need to look at the risk more carefully. So I think that in the market, it's actually need to be more bold about it, to invest in different areas so that perhaps that will be more of the case. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's in this case where it's like we can talk about CSR, like corporate responsibility, social responsibility. Obviously, they're on that environmental things. So.
Yeah.
They talk about this idea of the real economy. What is that? What is the real economy? What are they talking about?
Well, I have no idea. Does that mean we are working in a not real economy?
Well, see,
We are not sustainable.
You do understand that what that is, yeah. So, yeah, I know I don't agree with the term myself, but there is no fake economy. But when they talk about the real economy, they mean the economy that involves the sale of goods and services rather than the trading of financial instruments.
Oh, the real industry.
Yeah, right.
Like the crypto.
So what's your reaction to a bank that takes this kind of approach? So, I mean, Kevin said they don't make money. What do you think about a bank that is trying to do something like this?
I think the world will need more people like them to, do some impact.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious because you guys, you work in the financial industry. You know a lot more about this than I do. And like, is it just marketing? Is there something real here? Is there,
Mostly market.
mostly marketing?
I am not sure because I'm just a software engineer. Yeah.
Right.
So my title is software engineer. I'm not actually quite count myself as an investor,
Okay.
but I think that sometimes we need to be realistic. That the most money where it comes from, like if you're talking about US, United States, the most money that they make is from IPOs, and the IPOs perhaps will help the company, but sometimes they just gather a bunch of money and does nothing. Yeah, that's the case. Yeah.
So I understand that the ESG investing is more and more popular nowadays. And for example, the Apple required his suppliers to use sustainable energies. For example, the TSMC, they need to buy some offshore wind powers to manufacture their chips.
Right.
Because Apple's investor want Apple's to become, the leader of the ESG. So maybe that's the impact about the financial markets.
Right. What does ESG stand for?
Oh, ESG is environmental, social, and governance. It's a concept about like CSR, but it's more than CSR.
Right. Okay. Environmental, social, governance. Okay. Right. All right. Fair enough. So the people who started this particular bank, they're trying to bring about a change in the banking system. But ignoring, not only talking about the social responsibility side, are there any changes that you guys feel we should have in the banking system?
Digital transformation.
Like, how could, what should be more digital than it is right now?
They require a lot of paperwork in, in banks, so I think they should improve it.
Sure.
Oh, really? So which part do you think that is still using paper a lot of?
For example, when you go to a bank and when you open an account, they need you to sign every document, and also maybe need to, doing a lot of research about you, like KYC. But when I was in America, they usually use the iPad to do everything. But in Taiwan, we need to sign every word about your name. So I think it's a it's a long progress for Taiwanese banks.
Yeah, that will be the case, but yeah, I think that the reason, I'm not sure if it's the reason, but most of our traditional parents, or perhaps the rich, they use stamps. So you couldn't have any electoral stamps that the elders would like to use. Yeah.
Right. Like the physical, like stamp your name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct.
They prefer that sections.
Right.
I think it's also the regulators, the regulations in Taiwan. So they are more strict for the paperwork.
Right. And Kevin Wong, you've been described as the crypto expert. Is that?
No. That's just bragging.
I don't get crypto at all, but I do hear people talking about how it should be part of the, more accepted banking system or whatever. I mean, is there a role for that?
Well, I think a traditional bank could still have lots of ways to increase its efficiency if they accept maybe the way that the cryptocurrency trades and how they kind of mark the account records, but it's still got a long way to go with it. I think the cryptocurrency now is more like the gold. It is for people to invest in some rare metal, and they just want to make money from maybe the arbitrage or some inefficiency. So I think if we could just try little by little, to try to accept the concept of the crypto into the traditional banks, it would be a good thing.
Right. Yeah, because I think right now, like if you, I mean, I know there's many more cryptocurrencies out there than just Bitcoin, but it seems crazy to spend, if you have something that you think is going to go up in value really fast or potentially, it seems crazy to spend.
It's not stable, so it's I don't recognize it as a currency because it just fluctuating really high, so it just still a long way to go.
Sure. I don't know. Remember, there was I know there's been some recent changes in the laws in China about cryptocurrency, but like a lot of financial people that I know, including my wife, she didn't pay attention at all until once they could be exchange traded and they could start collecting exchange fees. Then all of a sudden, a lot more people were interested more seriously, which I thought was indicative of something. Okay, and last question. So if you would you open an account with a sustainable bank as an individual retail client or as a business client? So like as an individual, would you consider putting your money in that kind of bank?
Yeah, maybe a little amount,
A little.
show some supports to these people.
Now, would you have a different answer as a business client?
Yeah, I mean, if you are a business client, you might need to consider about your companies, that people feel about your companies. If they know these companies invest in sustainable bankings, they might think about, more positive about your companies.
Right. Yeah, okay. I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, ultimately, I think in as a business client, your responsibility, if you're running a business, your responsibility is ultimately to the shareholders, whoever they may be, whether it's public shareholders or personal shareholders, and you need to sort of do what they want and put your own feelings aside. But that's just my opinion. So. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to skip over these parts for now. We'll come back to this the next day. And I want to just quickly touch on some pronunciation, because it's just a good place to start for a class. So just to briefly introduce it, when we talk about pronunciation, we're going to talk about it in depth. So one level of pronunciation, we talk about just individual sounds in words. So in this case, James, do you want to can you read these word pairs for us?
Oh, yeah. So wine and wine.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, wet and white.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, okay. So obviously, like this kind of, when we do this kind of thing in pronunciation, we're focusing on an individual sound. For a lot of Mandarin speakers, the V is quite difficult for the vowel. And then we have words in isolation. So Kevin Wong, can you read these two words?
Photograph, yeah. Photography.
Perfect, absolutely perfect, yeah. So there's a change in the word stress what we do with those words, photograph and photography. And then in connected speech, which I think is the more interesting area. I don't know if you guys can read the Yimbiao. Kevin Cho, do you know what that says?
Nope.
All right, can any of you read that? Do you know how to read that?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, we won't use that kind of thing in the future. But this says, "What's the time?" Right? Which is
what's the time?
Yeah, which is a more natural way of saying, what is the time? But if you go to the U.S. or wherever, the U.K., Canada, people just say, "What's the time?" And it's all kind of blended together. It's important. What's the time? Yeah. So it's important to learn that kind of thing. It actually makes the language a lot easier to speak. So, but today I just have one quick thing. Everybody's doing this, all the people from your company. So we'll do this one next class, but this is a very simple pronunciation exercise, Betty Botter, that focuses on some different vowel sounds. So they call it a tongue twister. So I'm going to read it for you, and I'd like you guys to, for homework, just practice it a little bit so you can read it to me perfectly next class.
Okay.
So I'll read it through once, and then if there's time left, you guys can try. So it's Betty Botter. So Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better. So she bought a bitter butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So 'twas better Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter. So it's an exercise for quickly moving between different vowel sounds.
Sounds challenging.
Yeah. Anybody want to give it a shot before we finish for today? No. All right. Okay. I won't make you volunteer, but next class, everybody gets a chance.
So do we have the presentation about this?
Yes. I will send you. So after class, in the group, I will send you a link and some quick instructions on how to log into the classroom system, and this PowerPoint, as well as a PDF of this particular Betty Botter, and a link to the classroom video will all be there, and you can all just sort of download it from there. So for next class. So basically the homework, again, this is if you have time, don't feel pressured. So the class video is there if you want to review it. There is a reading exercise that talks more about finance, and the Betty Botter text will be there.
All right.
Great. Well, thanks for your time today, guys, and I will I'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah,
See you.
Try to get some
Thank
rest.
you.
Exhausted.
Thanks a lot.
Right.
Bye.